Welcome into ACC Baseball Etc, presented as always by our friends at Academy Sports and Outdoors. Summer's kind of their thing at Academy Sports and Outdoors. The sun is out, so the fun is on. You can score a cool pool, savor summer flavor with a grill, prep for fishing weekends, or mount up with a new mountain bike. However you have fun, you can't lose with their top brands. Gear up online at academy.com or at your local store. I'm Daron Vaught. I'm so glad to be joined by a familiar face, maybe with some new digs that we will talk about. It is longtime former Duke head coach, now Virginia head coach, Chris Pollard. CP, it's great to see you, man. I hope the summer's gone well, as frantic as it's been for you. Let me start there. You described this job at Virginia as your dream job, and we can get into the reasons for that. How hard was it, though, to leave Duke, a program that you had been with for, a dozen years and had a lot of success with?
It was incredibly hard. I've said numerous times I left a big piece of my heart in Durham. I have so much care for that program, so many great people at that university and in that athletics department, and we had so many close friends. I watched my two sons grow up in Durham, and so Duke baseball, the Durham community, will always be meaningful and special to Stephanie and I. And yeah, it was hard, and the timing was really hard, Daron. And in today's college athletics, like, the timing just stinks, man. I wish it wasn't that way. I've reflected many times this summer over how different this process has been versus when I left Appalachian State in 2012 to take the job at Duke. At that time, there was no portal. There was no NIL. There was no revenue share. I just remember getting to Durham, having a press conference and feeling like we've got time. The semester doesn't start until the end of August. We've got a couple of months to get all this stuff squared away, and over the last 5 weeks, everybody likes to use the expression drinking from a fire hose, but I just have been so blown away at the pace at which things move now because of the portal, because of revenue share, because of NIL. Just because college athletics is different and there's just more mobility than there's ever been. It's been a really positive 5 weeks. To use your term, it's been frantic, it's been frenetic. But there have been so many moments along the way where I've paused to say, man, this is really cool. This is really special.
Well, in typical Chris Pollard fashion, you're about 8 steps ahead. It's as if you're looking at my bulleted list of things I wanted to talk to you about, because one of my questions was, how have your first days on this job compared to when you started at Duke or Appalachian State or even at Division II Pfeiffer? I mean, it's you know this better than I do for sure. It's a totally different world. So
it's a very different world. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's this whirlwind, and I'll try to sort of spell it out, and I can get you to expound upon it. You've got the portal. You've got to figure out a coaching staff. You've got not only recruits that you maybe are wanting to re-recruit that you had committed to a former program. You've got recruits that you might have to re-recruit that are committed to the new program, right? You've got all of that program stuff. And then, oh, by the way, you're going to uproot your family and your home. And there's just the practical nature of, okay, I got to find a house. Like, we got to find somewhere to live. And then you get to the sort of the bigger picture, not as immediately necessary stuff, like maybe connecting with alumni, connecting with the fan base at your new stop. How did all of that work? I mean, that's a lot of spinning plates on sticks if you were like a circus performer.
So my former boss that hired me at Pfeiffer University, my first coaching opportunity in June of 1999, he sent me a picture a couple of weeks ago, and it was just a few days into the job there at Pfeiffer. And we took a few days, 1 week, to stop everything we were doing and paint the dugouts. Again, this is June of 1999. What do we need to be doing right now? Oh, let's go paint some dugouts. It is very, very different. You have to, I think the most important thing, you have to keep the main thing, and the main thing is making sure you have a roster, and when I got here mid-June, we really didn't have a roster. And so the first thing is, hey, we got to have guys to coach this fall. And that means sort of making sure that guys that have not entered the portal are comfortable about where they are right now, where they stand with the program, so they don't decide to go in the portal, right? Because they've still got 2 weeks to say, wait a minute, I think I will jump in the portal. So those guys you talk to first, and then it's the guys that are in the portal and who's already kind of made their mind up to leave versus where is there an opportunity to potentially have a guy decide, you know what, I do want to go back. I love it at the University of Virginia. Coaching transitions are hard, but that's where my heart's at. And then you have to go out and you have to fit whatever is left. Once you get a handle on what that current roster looks like, then you've got to go out and fill the remaining parts of the roster. And so, the first 3 weeks on the job, that was really 99.9% of what we did. It was purely roster focused. And we got about 3 weeks in and started to, that roster started to come together. And then without taking a breath, it's like, okay, wait a minute. Hey, we got to get caught back up on 2026 recruiting. Like, we've got to be able to work through the current committed 2026s. We've got to be able to, connect the dots on any 2026s that we might want to recruit and bring into this group. And so it was 3 weeks of roster recruitment and retention, quickly transitioning into 2026, heavy focus on 2026 recruiting. And now we're sort of slowly, looking up saying, hey, we like where we're at. We think we're in a pretty good spot. Oh, by the way, August 1st is just a few days away, and that will, signify the start of recruitment for 2027s. So, and in bits and pieces in there, you're trying to connect with donors. You're trying to build rapport with support staff here on campus. You're trying to connect with former players. And those things will become more of a focus as we get into August. But, recruiting has certainly been the lion's share of the focus over these first 5 weeks.
Yeah, there's one of those puzzle pieces that, in a way, you made it easy on yourself. You have the entire staff from Duke, basically, has joined you in Charlottesville. I know that's rare, right? A lot of the time you will see parts of a coaching staff go, right? But I mean, it's correct me if I'm wrong, it's practically everyone from Duke who is there with you at the University of Virginia now. Why did that make the most sense in this case?
Yeah, I mean, it made the most sense because these guys really understand the landscape, right? They have intimate knowledge of what it takes to be successful in the ACC, and they already have a great foundation in terms of knowing the right type of player to recruit to a high academic school competing in the ACC in baseball, because that's what we've had to do. And so it was really important for me that if we could do it, we bring our entire staff intact. And I've said a whole lot of times over the last 5 weeks, I don't know how we could have done it if we hadn't brought our staff intact, because those guys have been unbelievable just to hit the ground running. I mean, they took very, they didn't take any coaching. They already knew what they needed to be doing. And I can't imagine trying to retain a roster, recruit a roster, hire a staff, onboard a staff. I'm just really grateful to our staff for being willing to kind of take this journey and take on this new adventure, but also just the way that our staff has attacked these last 5 weeks, man. It's been awesome. I'm really proud of them.
Yeah, and I think you should be like, it says a lot about the culture that you established, because within a program's culture, there are like little subcultures, little mini cultures. And one of those is what exists between a head coach and the rest of the coaching staff, right? I mean, that's just as important as chemistry between players. Then there is the integration of those two things. And those are kind of separate issues that all work in sync with one another. And again, like I said, it's rare. You just don't see it a lot that an entire coaching staff moves from one place to the other. So, again, it made a transition that in other ways was a lot more difficult, I'm sure, a lot easier than it could have been.
Well, and I also, too, Daron, to your point, I think it says so much about this University of Virginia baseball program. The commitment that Carla Williams has made to funding our staff positions, to compensating our staff positions, and, just the infrastructure that's in place to be successful here at UVA. I think our staff took a hard look and said, man, this is a great opportunity. Like, hey, we all enjoy working together, but just in terms of my own career and my own trajectory, this is a place where I think will help me make the next steps in my career. And I'm fortunate that all 5 of our guys were able to kind of peel back the curtain, take that look and go, yeah, hey, this is a great opportunity for me personally.
That's a great segue into what I led with, this being a dream job, as you have called it. I think there are pretty obvious practical reasons why this is a move that you would have been interested in and were interested in. What goes into that dream job label, though? What was it about this program? Because, look, it's been widely reported the past several years you've had opportunities to go elsewhere, but you enjoyed what you were building at Duke enough to stay and not make that jump quite yet. What made Virginia the spot for that?
Well, first and foremost, Daron, have viewed all of these opportunities and grateful for all the conversations and humbled and flattered by all the conversations over the past few years, but have always viewed that process through the lens, first and foremost, is this right for our family? It was always going to be, is this a good landing spot for our family? And Charlottesville has always been a bucket list destination for us. I've grown up, loving this community, growing up right down the road. This is a homecoming for me. I've told people on a number of occasions, when our kids were little, Steph and I used to vacation to Charlottesville. That's how much we love this community. So it was a right move family-wise, but then you start stacking up all of the professional variables. The number one, this is a world-class university, right? This is one of the 24 best schools in the country. It's one of the 4 best state universities in the country. It's a place where you can have the best of both worlds. As a student athlete, you can pursue a world-class degree while also playing your sport at the highest level. It's a program steeped in tradition, 7 visits to Omaha since 2009. There's this incredible infrastructure that's already in place. It's one of the best stadiums in college baseball, from our Zimmerman indoor hitting facility to the weight room, to the locker room, to the pitching lab, to this 5,500 seat stadium. It's just an incredible infrastructure that's in place for player development, for recruitment, for retention. And then on top of that, the commitment that Carla has made to support baseball in this post-house settlement era, where even within our league, even within the ACC, schools are going to look very different in terms of, what type of support they're providing to baseball to compete on a national level, and to be at a place that's committed to competing at the highest level, along with all those other factors. Again, you've used the word dream job, but it really started with like, hey, this is a great spot for us as a family.
Yeah. I like this this version of you and I talk a lot throughout the season, in the off seasons, it's usually a lot of nitty-gritty baseball, which I love and enjoy and respect your perspective on. This sort of full circle nature of you being at Virginia, there in Charlottesville now, offers an opportunity to go down memory lane a little bit, in a way that we don't normally get to. What do you recall about being a Virginia baseball fan growing up there back in the 80s?
So one of the coolest moments since I took the job, on the day we had the press conference, there was a meet and greet with a lot of our season ticket holders, our donors, on the concourse here at Disharoon Park right before the press conference started. And I'm, great opportunity of shaking hands and talking. And all of a sudden I turned to my left and I see Coach Womack, Dennis Womack. And Coach Womack's the former baseball coach here at the University of Virginia when I was growing up as a kid. And I used to come to Coach Womack's baseball camps as a kid, as a high school player trying to get on the recruiting scene. I used to come to the Best in Virginia camp, and you'd stay in the dorm and you'd ride the bus over to the field. And being able to have that moment with Coach Womack, and going all the way back memory lane to being a high school player, going to baseball camp at the University of Virginia, it was kind of cool and very full circle.
I love that for you. You mentioned you and Stephanie had talked about Charlottesville as you said, a bucket list spot. I might be way out of line with this. Does that mean that you occasionally would think about a scenario in which you got to be the head coach?
Never. And I'm saying that in all honesty. I mean this in all sincerity. There was a scenario that I ran through in my head where, maybe I'll retire before Coach O'Connor does, and I'll go back and work on his staff. That was the scenario in my mind that led to coming back to Charlottesville. Never dreamed that Oak would move on. And so it was never, as I kind of play things out of my head, I never once thought, hey, maybe the job at UVA will open up and maybe I'll have a chance at that job. I did think, maybe one day when I'm done coaching, I'll go back and be the director of operations for Coach O'Connor at UVA. But, life's a funny thing, man. I can remember being here in March and Coach Oak and I talking about, hey, where's this house settlement going and what's going to happen next? And you never dream 5 months later, you're sitting in this office but it's special. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity that's been presented.
We've mentioned a couple of times the transitions from one job to the next. You've had a few of those in your career on this climb upward. You've got this reputation, Chris, as a builder or a transformer of programs, right? I mean, all due respect to Appalachian State and Duke, but you left them in better places than you found them in terms of national attention, postseason success, etc. Does your role change at all in this transition in that you are inheriting a national power, right? You alluded to the Omaha success. There's, of course, the national championship in recent memory. Being with an established power, does that change this beginning of a tenure?
Absolutely. It is a much greater responsibility. And that's just being candid with you, right? Like taking the job at Appalachian State in 2004, we had nowhere to go but up. Like you can't screw it up. Taking the job at Duke in 2012, there was a team that had been mired in the basement of the ACC for years and years and years. There was nowhere to go but up. And now that's not the case, right? You're taking over for a legend. You're taking over a program that's been a perennial Omaha contender and an Omaha presence. and there's an awesome responsibility that comes along with that. And there are great expectations. And I alluded to it in the press conference. There are very large shoes to fill. And I'm excited and enthused and energized by the challenge of trying to fill those shoes.
It's top of mind for me because we were talking about younger versions of Coach Chris Pollard. Do you think you needed a few stops before you were ready to bird in something like that?
Yes. And like I take a lot of pride in now being a lifelong learner. I don't know that I took enough pride in that early in my career, but the job is very humbling, and I've been humbled a number of times along the way where you realize, like, I've got a lot to learn. And if I don't grow and evolve, this isn't going to work out well. And so all of the stops along the way have helped prepare me for this opportunity. But that said, I've got a lot of learning still to do and need a lot of help. And I'm vulnerable enough, and I believe in the power of vulnerability, vulnerable enough to recognize that. Like, don't have it all figured out. But I'm excited to learn and grow, and I'm excited about the way this job is going to challenge me to grow and get better. And that's one of the things I'll always be grateful for about my time at Duke. It was a job that really stretched you. It really forced you to develop in a lot of different areas. And I'm grateful that I had a chance to do that.
It's one of my favorite things about you. Lifelong learner. I think we clicked in such ways a long time ago. So I'm personally glad you're still in the ACC. Happy to have be witness to the success and the journey, the upward trajectory. But selfishly, I was like, man, I hope whenever he takes that next step, it's still in the ACC. What does that mean to you to still be in this league? While also doing the natural progression thing and taking another job.
Oh man, I found it so cool to be able to stay in this league. I love this league. I love the dynamic that we have amongst our coaches in this league. I love the ability to compete at the highest level, but still be friends with each other and still appreciate each other. During my time at Duke, people used to always ask me about the Duke-Carolina rivalry. And it was, I think, always a fun thing for fans. I've always had such a great relationship with the coaches at UNC. I have enormous respect for Coach Fox, learned so much from competing against him. I've really enjoyed the friendship that Scott Forbes and I've developed over the past several years. And he's such an awesome guy and such a great family man. And so it's fun, man. Like when it's game day, like it's an unbelievably competitive atmosphere. But yet, you can run into Scott Forbes at a Miracle League event, or you can run into another coach in this league. I love my interactions away from the field with Elliot Avent. One of the most fun guys you could be around. My wife always says that, like, Coach Avent would be the absolute best reality TV show that you could, like. It would be amazing TV. And so, it's just been fun to get to know all these guys in the league and then to be able to maintain those friendships.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, man, nobody's got it better. Whatever sport you cover, whatever league it's in, I feel like me in my role here with D1 and calling games to get to talk to you guys on a regular basis. It's an awesome.
This group. League is a lot of fun, man.
Yeah. I stumbled across something, and because we are doing this little stroll down memory lane, and it is the off season, and there's not a lot of actual baseball for us to talk. I hope you'll indulge me here. If I give you a date, April 13th, 1994, would you know off the top of your head what I'm about to ask about?
Is that when we played Georgia Tech?
Yeah. You as a sophomore pitcher at Davidson in your playing career. got a win over #1 Georgia Tech. And for people who know, that's Nomar Garcia-Parra, Jason Varitek, Jay Payton, Georgia Tech.
3 first-rounders in that lineup.
I can't believe you and I have never touched on this. What do you remember from that game?
Well, I remember mostly the last play. So there's a couple things I remember. And you've been to the ballpark there, McNeese Park, and so you'll appreciate all this. Nomar Garcia-Parra batted leadoff for that team, and he was 45 out of 45 in stolen bases at that point in the season. He was a prolific base stealer, one of the, if not the best in the country. I remember picking him off first base, but it was a clear balk. I got away with it. So I do remember that. And I remember when I picked him off, I remember him pointing like, that's a balk. Like, yeah, it was. Number 2, I remember Jason Varitek hitting a ball 9 miles off of me. So it cleared, if you're familiar with that ballpark, and I know you are, but anybody's watched games there, there's the outfield wall, and then there's the brick wall that, protects the street. That ball cleared not only both walls, it cleared the street and landed over there at the fraternity house. That ball still probably is rolling. So I remember giving up a home run to Jason Varitek, but I went 8 1/3 in that game. Okay. Our closer, Brian Heil, who I just traded texts with yesterday, was a submarine closer. He was a true subby guy, like a Kent Tekulve. So I went 8 1/3. I'm out of gas. I walk a guy to bring Jay Payton to the plate. So runner at first, 6-4, we're up. Jay Payton's at the plate, and here comes Coach Cook out of the dugout. He's going to take me out of the ball game. And nobody, our infield's fighting for me to stay in the game. I'm fighting to stay in the game. He said, no, yeah, that's enough. And I think I turned around and started that same weekend, but those were the old days. You could get away with that back then. But come out of the game, I'm there on the top step. Brian Heil comes in. He throws one pitch. First pitch, ground ball to short, double play. We win the ball game. We rush the field. It was a lot of fun. A memory that I'll never forget.
Incredible. I mean, especially given that it was against another ACC team. Like I said, I can't believe you and I have never talked about that. That
was a fun night. That's
so good. I'm glad you recall so much, and I imagine it would be hard not to with something like that. We talked about re-recruiting guys. I want to ask about a couple of specifics. AJ Gracia is one of the best hitters in the country. He joins you in Charlottesville, coming from a Duke Blue Devil program where he's already seen a lot of success and had a great, especially the back half of the year this season. What was that conversation with him like? Was it push key, of course he's coming with me, or did you stress it a little?
I just didn't know, honestly. I mean, I never, you haven't gone through this process before. So, when I announced it to the guys that morning, that Tuesday morning at 10:30 a.m., they're shocked, they're shocked in the room, and those guys are, their heads are spinning, and I don't know how many of those guys are going to say, I'm staying at Duke, or I'm going in the portal and I'm going somewhere else, or, and so, my message to that team in the moment was, I've got your back. We're going to support you. You've got a great administration here at Duke that has your back. And so there was really no preconceived thought of, well, who's going to go in the portal and who's not going to go in the portal. Who might be interested in coming to UVA, who might not be interested, and each one of those conversations when guys did go into the portal were different and unique, and some guys were very quick to say, Coach, I want to be there at UVA because I feel really connected with this coaching staff. And other players said, hey, look, I've decided to go in the portal and I'm going to take a look at the University of Virginia, but I've got some other places I want to look too. And so, it was, each one of those was a unique recruitment in itself. There wasn't a one size fits all. And again, there was never a thought when I made this decision that a certain number of guys from Duke are coming with us. That never crossed my mind. It was, we'll see who goes in the portal. When they do go in the portal, we'll be ready to have conversations with guys to either A, see if it's a fit here at UVA, or B, see if we can help them find that right fit somewhere else, because I felt like I owed it to those guys to be a support system to them no matter what they decided.
Which is a great thing for you to sort of put the onus on yourself for, especially given everything we laid out that you've dealt with for the past 5 weeks. I mean, to just add another thing to go out of your way to help the other guys. I
feel a lot of loyalty towards those guys, Daron. I mean, that loyalty is a two-way street. And so, I felt loyalty to them and our staff. And so wanted to make sure that as much as was possible, that guys landed on their feet, wherever that was.
I'm glad you put it the way that you did, because just sort of in observing the chatter around a coaching carousel, we've talked about it. The times are different. And I think it can be sort of assumed in a lot of cases that, so-and-so's taking this job, they're going to take all their players with them. And although it is in some part the case, right? I mean, you have guys that are with you from Duke. Oak has guys with him at Mississippi State that came from Virginia. It's just not a guarantee that you're just going to plug and play the same roster. So it's a fascinating dilemma, maybe not the right word, but for you guys who assume these new roles, it's just it's complicated, but it can turn out to be complicated in good ways, because everybody gets a new start wherever they go, even if it's with or not with their old coaches and teammates.
Well, it's just, rosters are more fluid than they've ever been. And the reality is that guys have the ability to go into the portal now every year. So every year, guys basically more or less are free agents. And as long as it's done the right way and there's not back channel conversation or before a player enters the portal, then the reality is guys have the freedom to move now. And our opinions on whether that's a good thing or not a good thing are really irrelevant, right? Like it is what it is. And so to say, hey, is this a good thing for college athletics or is it not? Well, that doesn't matter. It is the landscape that exists now. And so guys have that freedom. And so, college athletics is just different than it was 20 years ago in that way. And everybody's got to evolve with that.
Yeah. Final thing for you. It has been a very hectic stretch for you. By any chance, before fall ball gets rolling, are you going to get a vacation in?
No, not this year. No vacation. So we will. My wife, my wife and I celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary.
Awesome! Congratulations!
Right in the middle of our season. People always say, "How did you get married in the middle of the season?" And I always have to say, well, 25 years ago, if you were coaching at the Division II level, the middle of May was after the season. So it wasn't. I didn't get married during the season. It was just back in the late 90s. If you were coaching Division II baseball, season was over with at the end of April. So we planned our wedding for the second week of May, and now, of course, 30 years later, right? Our anniversary falls right in the middle of crunch time in college baseball, May the 6th. And so, we know, hey, you're probably not going to do a lot of celebrating on the actual date. So Steph and I are going to take a trip in December to celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary, and we're really excited about it.
Wonderful. Good for you. And I remember you saying that you guys would vacation in Charlottesville. So I see it. You're on vacation now, right?
That's right. Yeah, 100%. Every day's a vacation now. Yep.
I love it. This has been so good to catch up. I told you when it happened. I'm thrilled for you and Stephanie, your entire family. It's a great opportunity. I'm a Virginia native as well. So grew up admiring what the Virginia baseball program was. You know my respect for you. The marriage of the two is a really cool thing to me, as I know it is to you. So congrats on the position. I'm glad we keep you in the league and get to have these conversations as frequently as we always have. And enjoy the rest of the offseason, and as much of an offseason as you get.
Yeah, well, listen, dude, you know this. I've said this. The respect is mutual. The ACC is lucky to have you, and we're grateful for what you're doing for the league and grateful for what you're doing for college baseball. So always happy to be on with you, man. Good to catch up.
Likewise. Thanks, CP.